Welcome to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive. We are talking green and gold today. Yeah, diving deep into the Springboks' latest trophy triumph, retaining the Rugby Championship.
Yeah.
But, for those following the story closely, the real headline wasn't just the trophy lift itself. It was the immediate post-match assessment from head coach Rassie Erasmus. He secures the title and then straight away admits the team still has a serious problem and, quote, a lot to fix.
It really is a classic championship paradox, isn't it? You win one of the toughest, most grueling competitions in world rugby, and the coaching staff's first instinct isn't, pure celebration, but immediate, quite pointed correction. So our mission today is to unpack this specific nuance using the articles you shared. Is this just Rassie being Rassie, a hypercritical genius, or is it genuine concern over that inconsistency we saw? Maybe a bit of both. Or perhaps it's even like strategic psychological stuff aimed squarely at keeping focus on the big one, the 2027 World Cup.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to analyze whether the Boks are, successfully planning for future glory, maybe even at the expense of perfect rugby right now. And hey, if you want to keep getting these targeted, in-depth analyses on the global game, make sure you subscribe to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive. Don't miss out on these insights. Okay, let's start with the facts on the ground. The achievement itself. South Africa officially retained the Rugby Championship title, the one they won in 2024. They did it by, narrowly edging out Argentina 29-27 over at Twickenham, Allianz Stadium. And that result pushed them back above New Zealand in the overall table. So on paper, massive success. Confirmation of their status, really.
Yeah, but what's really fascinating is the context, right? The lead up to that final tight win. They had those impressive recent performances, big wins over the All Blacks, over Las Pumas, but they were kind of balanced out by those earlier defeats. Remember Australia in Joburg? And that loss to New Zealand at Eden Park, that lack of predictable dominance week to week, that's the very inconsistency that seems to be fueling Rassie's public critique. He actually says they're still chasing the perfect game.
I want to dig into that a bit more, the psychological side. Why admit flaws right after winning? Is he trying to motivate his own players?
Yeah.
Give them immediate targets? Or is he maybe trying to mess with rivals like the All Blacks?
I think it's probably both, and it's pretty clever coaching psychology, isn't it? By acknowledging the lack of consistency as a problem that we have, he stops any complacency setting in. That's key. But then he immediately kind of reframes it, doesn't he? He adds that he doesn't think it's one of the biggest problems that some of the other teams might have.
So he identifies the flaw, owns it, but then sort of downplays it publicly. Suggests that rivals might actually have bigger issues.
Right. So it manages expectations inside the camp, but keeps that aura of dominance outside. And when we look at the specifics he mentioned, the sources suggest the fixes are tangible, tactical things, not like deep systemic problems. Exactly right. When he drills down, he gets quite specific. He mentions the team handed over 2 tries in games and says they need to cut out those moments. Now, for a rugby audience listening, that translates into pretty technical stuff, doesn't it? He's talking about lapses in concentration, maybe defensive pattern recognition. Often it's, secondary defenders missing a read or communication breakdown near the try line.
Yeah.
These are really errors of execution, and you see those far more often when you're constantly rotating players in and out.
Which brings us straight to the strategy, because the articles confirm that rotation was key. The primary driver for this sort of tactical volatility was the Boks intentionally balancing 2 huge goals, conflicting goals, often. They need to stay in the present, win the championship right now, but also really aggressively build squad depth looking ahead to 2027.
Yeah, and that strategic conflict directly explains the lack of rhythm he talks about. Erasmus pretty much confirms it. He says, when you give different combinations a chance, different guys under pressure a chance, you naturally get, and I quote, a little bit of a lack of rhythm and a lack of continuity. So this inconsistency we saw, it was, in large part, the calculated cost of prioritizing that long-term development. He even admitted quite openly that if they'd just played the same core team all year, consistency might have been better.
Okay, I get the need for depth. You absolutely need it with the attrition in international rugby. But if you look at their rivals, say New Zealand, they don't seem to be facing this level of intentional tactical inconsistency, do they? Isn't Erasmus kind of giving opponents a psychological edge by admitting these rotational flaws are making things messy?
Well, that's the high-stakes gamble, isn't it? And the scale of rotation, it's pretty staggering. The Boks apparently use close to 47 players this year. Just think about that number. 47. That many shifts, it absolutely guarantees a tactical cost. And look at the list of injured and unavailable players mentioned in the sources. It's quite a list. Tutuko Machunu, Gerhard Steenkamp, Salman Morat, Cameron Hanekom, Evan Roos, Elrie Liu, Edwil van der Merwe, Kurt Leorenzi, and Afalil Fassi. That's not just, random players.
Yeah, for our listeners, what does losing that specific group of players actually mean on the field?
Dynamically. Well, that list shows they weren't just losing individuals, they were losing depth in key areas, particularly props and locks, the tight five, and then crucial decision makers in the back three. When you lose multiple props and locks, you're forced to integrate entirely new combinations up front. And that's where your line-out calls, your scrum stability, that all lives. These are high nuance things, tasks that need repetition, months to really lock down. So the fact they still won proves their depth and resilience, definitely. But Erasmus's bottom line remains clear. Character was okay, but tactically there are a lot of things to fix. It's like the high floor of their character got them the title, but the ceiling of their tactical perfection, that's being held back a bit by the rotation.
So the core takeaway from that strategy section is really this trade-off, isn't it? The tactical, maybe slight messiness. That's the price they're willing to pay for the long-term strategic advantage of depth. It's like deliberately running a high-performance engine slightly off-tune for a year. You might still win races, but deep down you need a big tune-up before the main event.
That's a great analogy, exactly. And the success of this, let's call it high-risk strategy, is kind of proven by the result. Winning a major title while juggling that many players, integrating new faces under pressure, that's a huge management feat. It speaks volumes about the actual depth they have managed to build already.
Which leads us to a good question for you, the listener. We'd love to know what you think. Do you reckon the Springboks successfully managed that balancing act? Winning now while sacrificing some consistency for 2027 depth. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We do read them. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive to keep up with all our analysis.
Okay, so moving to the external views now. What are people saying outside the camp?
Well, the main takeaway from this win seems to be that even while they are, let's say, actively compromising themselves tactically, the Springboks are still winning major trophies. That's significant. The reporting we looked at consistently called them the game's dominant force after this second successive Rugby Championship, which really points to a remarkably high floor for their performance level, even when not at their absolute best.
Yeah, that external view definitely validates the strategy, doesn't it? And then there's Wales legend Dan Biggar's commentary. He highlights that the full package Springboks are already looking like they're on course for a World Cup hat-trick. He actually called it a scary warning to rivals. So Biggar's comments suggest that strategic decision, the depth building, it's already intimidating rivals, even if the tactics aren't quite perfect yet. Absolutely. And if you want a little insight into why this team operates at such a relentless, uncompromising level, there was a fantastic nugget from some related articles about Peter O'Mahony's view on Erasmus. He apparently described Rassie as a dictator who is completely mental and puts up with no bulls. A dictator, completely mental. I mean, that certainly paints a picture of the intensity driving them, doesn't it? If he's truly that demanding, perhaps that's what it takes to push a team to win a championship while running effectively 47 different player experiments throughout the year. That sheer force of personality, the demands, it ensures results, maybe, even when the combinations are still gelling.
That strong leadership, almost overwhelming maybe, is clearly getting the results they need right now. And the news highlights we saw, they kind of summed it up nicely. They said the team is far from perfect, but critically, they're pleased to be building while winning. And that really feels like the core of the 2027 roadmap.
It absolutely is. The sources clearly show the Springboks are, for now, successfully balancing these competing goals. It's working. They're getting success now in the present while doing the necessary tinkering and tactical adjustments for the future. So this Rugby Championship win, maybe it's less about the final destination, the trophy itself, and more about validating the journey. Validating that strategic path to 2027, where winning right now is almost like a phenomenal bonus while they go through these necessary growing pains and tactical development.
Okay, that sets up our final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. The Rugby Championship Team of the Year, interestingly, featured 9 Springboks compared to 3 All Blacks. That highlights overwhelming individual brilliance. We know players like Eben Etzebeth, according to the source material, sets every standard. So the star power is there. They've got the stars, they've proven they have the depth, they clearly have the character. But the coach himself admits consistency is the main growth area, largely due to that tactical flux from rotation. So the big question remains, doesn't it? Can the Springboks keep winning like this, maintain this margin, while also tactically fixing what's broken and integrating all that individual brilliance into truly collective, flawless consistency before 2027? If you want to dive deeper into that question and keep exploring all the nuances of the game, you know what to do. Subscribe to Rugby Obsession for continuous deep dives just like this one. Thank you for listening to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive, and we'll look forward to you listening to our next episode.